One key element of successful leadership is raising up and equipping future leaders. Great leaders give leadership away. But how do we know who we should be investing in? How do we know who to give leadership attention and responsibility to? 4 things. Number 1 is look for the right qualifications. In every role, certain skills and abilities are more important than others. And so not every person can do every role with the same level of competency. So you're going to look at the people who have the capacity to do the job. But that seems obvious, but as you think about that, keep a couple of things in mind. Number 1 is that skills can be developed through training and experience. So you have to be willing to give people a chance to develop some of those qualifications that you're looking for. And then secondly, really the only way to measure somebody's capacity is by giving them opportunity to grow. And so as you give someone responsibility, you see how they do with that. And if they do well, if they're successful, then you give them more. That's how you can gauge the qualifications that a person has for the job. You have to take some risks in order to find that out. But it's not just about qualifications. If you want to identify future leaders, you also have to look for the right kind of person. I'm talking about character. Many leaders have made the mistake of elevating someone to leadership on the basis of their competence without considering their character. But character is the essential baseline when considering potential future leaders. Now, there's a lot of different ways to summarize what that character looks like. One approach is to look for fat people, faithful, available, and teachable. Faithful people, if they're faithful with something small, then they're likely to be faithful with a greater responsibility. Available means that they're willing to serve, that they're ready to take on an assignment. For some people, there's just always something in the way, and they're never really available. And teachable means that they're humble and they're willing to learn anything from anyone. Now, another approach is some people want to go fetch the right kind of people to be future leaders. That's another acronym. F stands for a follower of Jesus Christ. And especially in a ministry setting, a person has to be sure of where they stand with God. The E stands for evidence of a changed life. You want to have someone who is really pursuing God and growing in their relationship with Jesus, and it shows. The T stands for teachable or willing. We've talked about that above. C stands for church family. You know, if a potential leader is not connected to the church family, then they can't be part of or benefit from or contribute to the overall momentum of the church's ministry. They become a dead end in a sense. And the H stands for a heart to help. Is a person have a servant heart where it's really more about other people than it is about themselves. Those are some ways to think about the qualifications of character, the kind of person that you're looking for to lead. Now, when we talk about developing or identifying rather future leaders, then the question arises, what about personality? God created an infinite array of personality traits in individuals. And I think that there probably are certain jobs that map well to certain personality types. But don't assume that only certain personality styles can get a certain job done. It's just that people with different personalities will go about succeeding in that job in different ways. Every personality has strengths and weaknesses as well. So don't make the mistake of equating competence with a particular personality. Now, as you think about how to identify potential future leaders, is one last thing I want to share with you, and that is you need to be willing to try and fail. Don't be discouraged if somebody that you've identified and invested in doesn't pan out. There's always circumstances and factors that are beyond your control. For example, that person might have become demotivated or distracted by circumstances in their lives. Or maybe there were hidden character flaws that only came out when they were severely tested. Or maybe they just didn't have the skills or the abilities, the qualifications that you thought they had or that appeared to have at the beginning. And then to be humble, to be honest, we realize that we're not omniscient, that there's obviously things that we could miss and often do miss when we're evaluating other people. But if you never try, you'll never succeed. Now, if someone that you invested in doesn't really become the leader you thought they might, then don't be discouraged by that, but trust God with the process in that person's life and in your life as well. Your investment is never wasted. First of all, it's helped you to grow, and you've gotten better at developing leaders through that experience. But secondly, then that person still may become the leader that you envision them to be, but just at a different time and place, maybe when other factors come together in their life. So don't be afraid to try and fail. It's really important that we learn how to identify future leaders because great leaders give leadership away.